The plane was already buzzing with that pre-takeoff hum when it happened quiet at first, just a whisper from the flight attendant leaning down toward me. "Sir, we're going to need you to move. This seat's been promised to another passenger." I remember staring at her for a beat like she'd just asked me to step off the earth. My ticket said 2A. My boarding pass had been scanned. My bag was above me. And yet here we were. I took a breath. "This is my seat. I checked in early." She gave me that tight smile, polite but final. Behind her, a tall white man in a crumpled suit crossed his arms like he'd already won. Moments like that. You feel old ghosts climbing onto your shoulders. I'd built my company from a laptop in a leaky Chicago apartment, worked my way into boardrooms where folks like me rarely sat, and still, I was being told to get up. I tried calm first. "Let me see the policy." I asked the lead attendant, a man named Jason. He leaned in close, lowering his voice. "We can find you another seat in economy. We'll refund the difference, give you extra miles." The whole cabin had gone silent, eyes glued to us, the man beside him. Griffin, I later learned, snorted. "Come on, let's get this over with. I have an important meeting." I looked up at him steady. "So do I." Jason shifted. "Sir, if you don't comply, we'll have to involve security." That's the moment your pulse jumps, not from fear exactly, but from recognition. You know how this story usually ends. Cameras were out. I thought of my kids, my employees, the deal waiting for me in San Francisco. I said it clearly, for everyone to hear. I will not give up the seat I paid for without a valid reason. 5 minutes later, 2 security officers stepped on. One rested his hand on a taser like it was a reflex. I wasn't raising my voice, wasn't making a scene, but suddenly I was the problem. I stood up slow, gathered my briefcase, and walked that long aisle while strangers filmed. My face burned, but I kept my head high. Then something unexpected. Row 12. A young white woman stood up. "This is wrong. He didn't do anything." A black man 2 rows back added, "I'm leaving too." By the time I hit the jet bridge, half a dozen had followed, bags in hand, choosing conscience over comfort. In the terminal, I was met by a woman in a navy suit, eyes fierce, hand outstretched. "My name's Aisha. I'm an attorney." What they did was textbook discrimination. Behind her stood the folks who'd walked out. Strangers, but in that moment, family. Meanwhile, my phone lit up. Someone had already posted video. Within an hour, it had 1 million views. By the time I sat down at a cafe with Aisha and the others, reporters were outside, stock tickers sliding, hashtags trending. A kid named Jordan, who'd filmed the whole thing, was suddenly on every feed. The world was watching. The airline's first move, call it a misunderstanding. Offer me a travel voucher and upgrade on the next flight. I laughed, bitter. You humiliate me in front of the whole cabin, threaten me with force, and your fix is a coupon. I sent a message to my team, prepare a statement alert, legal. What I didn't know yet was how deep the rot went. Whistleblowers came forward. Leaks showed a pattern. Complaints buried policies skewed to platinum flyers that just happened to sideline people who looked like me. Then came the kicker, Griffin. The man who'd taken my seat sat on the board of my competitor's airline. Coincidence? Maybe. But it smelled like something uglier, corporate sabotage dressed in racism. For days, my life turned inside out. My board pressured me, take the money, sign the NDA, move on. 20 million was on the table. Think of the shareholders, one said. I thought of my daughter, 16, who texted me that night. Dad, are you okay? People are saying awful things online. You didn't do anything wrong, you just wanted your seat. Her words cut through the noise. I told her, sometimes standing up for what's right makes people uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean we stop. The smear campaign came next. Old business disputes dragged up headlines, twisting me into the angry black man trope. But witnesses pushed back Jordan on morning shows, Sarah posting her account, Thomas comparing it to Montgomery in 55. Truth has a way of clawing itself back into the light. And then the documents hit the press. Emails from airline execs dismissing discrimination complaints as not worth the resources. Connections between Griffin and crew. It was bigger than me now. Boycotts launched, stock cratered, the CEO forced to call me from his golf club. Voice shaky, begging to resolve the situation. He asked, "What exactly do you want?" I answered plain. Accountability. Public admission. Policy changes. Independent oversight. This isn't about making me whole, it's about fixing a broken system. A month later, I stood at the National Press Club. Behind me sat Aisha Jordan, Sarah Thomas, and a whistleblower named Gabriella. I announced a $50 million settlement, not for me, but to fund a new transportation equity initiative watchdog for discrimination in travel. I announced resignations reforms, DOJ investigations. And I said it, clear, easy paths rarely lead to real change. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. And that's why we fight. A year passed. Boarding another flight, a different airline. I heard the flight attendant greet me by name, a small TEI pin on her lapel. She whispered, "Your stand changed how we do our jobs. Thank you." For the first time in a long while, I felt like maybe, just maybe, the needle had moved. But let me ask you, what would you have done? Would you have taken the settlement, closed the door, gone back to life as usual? Or would you have risked the smear, the threats, the sleepless nights to push for change? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you've ever seen someone treated unfairly, and whether you spoke up or stayed quiet. Because at the end of the day, this story isn't just about one seat on one plane. It's about dignity, the simple right to sit where you belong without someone deciding you don't. If this hit you like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories that remind us sometimes the most powerful act of resistance is simply refusing to give up your seat. The plane was already buzzing with that pre-takeoff hum when it happened, quiet at first, just a whisper from the flight attendant leaning down toward me. "Sir, we're going to need you to move. This seat's been promised to another passenger." I remember staring at her for a beat like she'd just asked me to step off the earth. My ticket said 2A. My boarding pass had been scanned. My bag was above me. And yet here we were. I took a breath. This is my seat. I checked in early. She gave me that tight smile, polite but final. Behind her, a tall white man in a crumpled suit crossed his arms like he'd already won. Moments like that, you feel old ghosts climbing onto your shoulders.